military potential of hovercraft has been appreciated for a number of years. In 1966, 200 hovercraft trial squadron, Royal Corps of Transport, was formed with the charter of establishing the place of hovercraft in the Army. The squadron carried out extensive trials in the Far East and Australia until the United Kingdom's military withdrawal. Since then, with the concentration on Priority 1 tasks, likely hovercraft roles have been considered for Europe, particularly on the flanks. Terrain studies of likely deployment areas have been undertaken, and where these showed that hovercraft might usefully be employed, these were confirmed by actual deployment of the squadron. One of the areas which appeared most likely to benefit from the deployment of hovercraft was the northern flank of NATO. The coastline of Norway is made up of numerous fjords and inland waterways. The broken coastline, coupled with the east-west grain of the country, the consequent lack of north-south roads, and the deterioration of these roads during the Arctic winter, suggested that the hovercraft could be of great value. The squadron has now carried out 2 major trials programs in the area, as well as taking part in exercise Strong Express in 1972. The hovercraft currently in service with the Army are conventional in that they are supported on a cushion of air induced by a lift fan. Forward motion and maneuvering are provided by aerodynamic means. The SRN-6 Mark II has been in service with the squadron since its formation. The basic configuration is the same as commercial hovercraft, although it has many modifications in keeping with its military roles, such as GPMG mountings and roof loading hatches. It has a crew of 3, the pilot, who is the craft commander, the navigator, who operates the radar, and the seaman. It can carry up to 30 fully armed and equipped troops, and can also be used for the carriage of stores and equipment, including the 105mm pack howitzer, which is being prepared for loading. These craft can achieve speeds of up to 60 knots over water and ice in favorable operating conditions and have a maximum endurance of 11 hours. This gives a planning range of 275 nautical miles. The craft are also fitted with first-class communications and radar equipment. In 1972, 2 of the squadron craft were converted so that they could carry vehicles. This is the SRN-6 Mark V. Loads include Land Rovers, trailers, guns, Volvo oversnow vehicles, and up to 4 tons of combat supplies or other equipment. Alternatively, it can carry up to 50 armed and equipped troops, although not at present under cover. Like the Mark II, the craft carries a crew of 3. The pilot and navigator sit in the starboard cabin, whilst the port cabin is occupied by the seaman or an observer and 2 passengers. Recently in service with the squadron for evaluation are 2 CC-7s. These craft have a different propulsion system which makes them very quiet and manoeuvrable. Because of these characteristics, it's thought they will be suitable for tasks of a clandestine nature, such as reconnaissance and surveillance. This craft can at present carry 5 fully equipped men in addition to its crew of 2, but the manufacturers are currently developing a stretch version which, it is hoped, will carry a complete section of infantry. The greatest single advantage of the hovercraft is its mobility. The low surface pressures beneath the craft enable it to travel over marginal terrain such as swamp, marsh and paddy as easily as over this snow and ice, and to complete the transition from one terrain to another with ease. This mobility is limited over land by gradients steeper than 1 in 10 and by solid obstructions higher than 4 feet. Other advantages include maneuverability, as demonstrated over water and ice, and high reliability, which stems from their simplicity of design and their aircraft-based preventative servicing system. The excellent navigational radar which is fitted to these craft enables them to be used to the full in the periods of darkness and low visibility so often encountered in northern Norway. A skilled crew can take a hovercraft ashore in 0 visibility to within 20 meters of any given point. The mobility and speed of the hovercraft, coupled with its navigational capability, make it an ideal vehicle for tactical and logistic transportation, particularly in Norway with its sparse road system and long, disrupted coastline, where other transportation agencies are so often brought to a standstill during bad weather and the long Arctic night. Experience gained in the past has derived mainly from the intensive use of the SRN-6 Mark II, although its basic configuration limits its ability to carry vehicles and bulky stores. The introduction of the Mark V has now broadened the scope for transporting all manner of vehicles and equipment, making it possible to lift a composite combat team of troops, support weapons and vehicles with a combination of Mark II and Mark V craft. In this role, the hovercraft offers a commander the advantage of a fast, dependable means of transport with exceptional endurance in all conditions of visibility along the coastal areas. During this lift, a company of Norwegian infantry was moved across a water gap with their support weapons in less than an hour. The same move by land could have taken up to 2 days. The use of hovercraft in the amphibious landing role follows naturally from its tactical lift capability. Today's hovercraft are neither armoured nor armed with more than light machine guns, and any initial landing could only be undertaken against light opposition and should preferably be at night. This particular assault went in just after first light to take advantage of the available air cover. The speed of reaction of hovercraft in deploying armed troops to sensitive areas has proved to be a decisive factor in amphibious operations. After the landing is complete, casualties can be speedily taken to the rear for treatment. Surveillance is a vital requirement in the terrain of North Norway, and hovercraft produce an ideal solution. The installed radar and radio communications equipment enables them to act as an effective surveillance vehicle. By operating from suitable beaches or shorelines, hovercraft can provide surveillance over any stretch of coastline. This can be achieved using both electronic and visual means. Information can then be rapidly relayed to the squadron operating base and formation headquarters. The task completed, the hovercraft returns to base at first light. Reconnaissance is another role effectively undertaken by hovercraft. Apart from their use as recce vehicles themselves, they can be tasked to carry small recce parties to any part of the coastline. Here, a Volvo oversnow vehicle carrying an observation post is being put ashore on a remote offshore island. And as you can see, various stores can be transported readily on the deck of an SRN-6 Mark V. The location of the hovercraft in England as a part of the United Kingdom land forces raises the question of the squadron's deployment to potential trouble spots. Transportation by air is not a feasible proposition, particularly as it is unlikely that aircraft could be made available to carry hovercraft within existing contingency plans. It therefore seems likely that hovercraft would be deployed by sea. The squadron prepares for deployment from its base in Browndown through Marchwood Military Port. current LSL and LCT and the proposed LCL all carry 4 SRN6 type craft. The LSLs offer a particularly attractive alternative as their cranes can lift the craft on and off. They can also lift the squadron's stores, equipment and vehicles, and they carry hovercraft fuel. Deployment to northern Norway takes about 4 days, and during this time, final craft maintenance can be completed on the deck of the ship. A crew makes some minor repairs to the skirt system of an SRN6. The hovercraft are ready for operational tasking immediately on arrival. Priority is given to unloading the craft and positioning the command post so that crews can be briefed. And then sent to sea with their initial tasks. Meanwhile, the remainder of the squadron is unloaded and deployed to a suitable base camp and forward operating bases. Host nation fuel stocks exist in quantity along the shores of Norwegian fjords, and the squadron is equipped with 3 800-gallon tankers for replenishment. Here, the squadron used a jetty which was strong enough to carry a loaded tanker and which could accommodate the craft alongside. When the craft have been operating for some time, they may become due for servicings not feasible in forward operating bases. They are then withdrawn to the main base, where they can be brought ashore and lifted. This lift enables the undersurfaces of the craft to be examined for any damage. At the same time, component changes and other routine maintenance jobs are completed so that in the shortest possible time the craft can be returned to the forward area. This is the auxiliary power unit being changed. On completion, final checks are carried out. The craft is lowered and after less than 24 hours is able to return to the forward area for tasking. This film illustrates the value of hovercraft in their most demanding role in the Arctic. They are also suitable for deployment in Denmark and on the southern flank of NATO, as well as for priority 2 and 3 tasks, many of which would be in terrain adjacent to water, where the advantages of the hovercraft could be of great value. There is little doubt that the hovercraft is a very versatile and cost-effective military vehicle. Its unique capabilities can greatly enhance the flexibility of a commander's plan by offering a new dimension to the mobility of his force in many situations.